Yes, but you can Google some and still get some good ones to use to screen. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. And there's a very good question here as well. Someone says, I have a child who's 4 years old, very brilliant orally, but doesn't enjoy writing. Because of that, the school wants to fail him. Is this normal? Is the school being fair?
Okay, very, very, very important question. And it's unfortunate how sometimes the schools handle these things. That's why we need to incorporate some mental health education into our education curriculum. Because, I mean, I didn't elaborate on the specific learning disorders, but we have learning disorders where a child is very good intellectually, does not have any intellectual developmental issue. They are brilliant. However, there are different modalities for learning. Of course, the common ways we learn are reading, writing, I mean, verbally expressing, and then moving on to mathematics calculation. Yeah, so when children they do well in other areas of learning, but do not do well in some areas of learning, then it means they are having a specific learning problem or disorder. So this child who is brilliant and can answer orally everything, but is not able to write, there could be two problems of the child. The child is obviously having a learning disorder. It could be dyslexia or dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is where a child just cannot write because of some neurological malfunction somewhere. So they can probably read it, but when they have to put the pen or pencil on paper and write, that becomes a difficulty. Of course, usually we have to evaluate the child holistically and rule out other things, make sure there's no motor weakness, there's no there's no problem with coordinating their hand movements and all that. We have to assess the child holistically to rule all that out, and be sure the child can see clearly as well. Because if the child has a visual impairment and can't see clearly, they probably cannot write also clearly. So we rule all those out, and when everything is fine, yes, then it could be a specific learning disorder like dysgraphia. And dyslexia for those who seem not to be able to read out what has been written, though they can verbally and orally express themselves so brilliantly and so well. If you conduct an oral exam for them, they will beat everybody in the school. I mean, the same public questions that you have given, but if you are supposed to put the paper in front of them to read and answer, which is like the traditional way most of our educational system employs to assess children, then you may find them struggling or having a difficulty. And that's not because they are dumb or they are not brilliant, but because they have that specific problem. Unfortunately, we have very few resources of trained teachers or people who can help children with dyslexia. But the children with dyslexia, dysgraphia, or other types of specific learning disorders will have to have like a trained teacher who is good with helping children with dyslexia, to be able to pick up, because sometimes there are other, I'm not an educationist, but there are psychological educational psychologists and therapists who do well with helping use some other creative means to help that child with that difficulty. And we need to open up our educational system to not to be rigid that, oh, everybody has to be assessed with pen and paper, answer these questions. We should have been able to accommodate children like that, that I mean, present their knowledge through other means like oral presentation. So I just wish whoever had that question, I just wish you could speak to the teacher or the head and ask if there are any available help for children having that kind of specific challenge or problem. You could also reach out. I'm sure Dr. Sedo here can help you, and we can direct you to some professionals for the child to be assessed first. And then when we are sure it is a problem of dyslexia or dysgraphia, we can make some recommendations. Yes, it's just unfortunate that our system is not fully resourced, and some of these children are just targeted by the schools as not doing well, and sometimes they want to be moved out. But it shouldn't be the case. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. That was a very good question, a very brilliant response. Yes, of course. So you can reach me on